So in this section, we're going to be talking about energy, what it is, how we transmute it, what it does to what feeds the mind of the energy, and how that turns into either an emotion or something regarding what's happened, and the energy that you felt actually comes through your body, and it will trigger some parts of your brain. So energy, what is it, why is it there, and obviously how do we recognize the energy? So this is quite a deep subject really, so it will take a little bit of explaining, but we'll start from the key points of what energy is. So everyone has got a life energy around them. So what's known, and that will be on another section, is the chakra system and the spiritual aura. What we've all got, every human being has got one. So basically it stems from, not everyone can see auras, but again it's to do with energies and what they are. So we've all got yin and yang in us as such, so we can create anything that we like based on whatever your subconscious wants to do, but that's all goes from programming, again in another section. So I'll go through the basics of energy. So I always class energy sometimes as an emotion, because when you're getting, and normally for me it's more on a negative energy, when as an example I can say, because obviously people don't realise what they're doing, but it's all happening based on their beliefs and how they feel, but they project this energy on other people in many different ways. So the way I can explain that is, you're walking along the road and you meet into someone like an old school friend or something like that, and you didn't really know each other back then, but you recognise each other, and you went and said hello, I recognise you, blah blah blah, and it gets into a really nice old school conversation of meeting when we used to see each other and that, and it gets into quite a nice energy in the conversation. Now we'll flip that chart, so we're walking along the road and we see someone from school and we didn't really get on with them as much, they were horrible back then, nasty, bullying, bad words, whatever you want to call it really, and you bump into them. Now, if you recognise the energy in your body, it's like a defence mechanism will come in straight away, and it will send a signal to your mind and go, this is a bit awkward, I feel a bit uncomfortable now. So that is transferring the energy of the thought process from that experience to have that repeat play as such. So when someone is vibrating on like a lot more negative energy than positive, if you're psychic or you've got any sort of gifts in feeling, then you feel what's around you. So again, not everyone can do it, but they can train to do it. So it's all about training the mind as well, not just what you're picking up, because it could be that someone's got a lot of envy for you, or jealousy, or they're narcissistic, and you sit there and you wonder why, when you have all these faults and stuff and they're not even yours. So, and that depends on like in relationships and stuff as well, because not everyone believes in this stuff, and at the end of the day everyone's got a choice, but when when proof is there, the proof is there, and it's not for anyone to jump up and down about, I suppose, but the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. If there's certain aspects of this going on and you know how to control them, but in your own energy field, then you're halfway there. So again, how I can explain this, so if you're naturally a general kind loving person which will go out of your way to help others, then you're radiating quite nice energy. But we can all get mad and we can all get bitter, twisted about something, but it's recognising how you're feeling. Now you might find it might put you into some sort of depression on a certain subject, or it might bring back really bad memories and experiences from the past. And that's all because it's the old energy coming back that really makes the human body feel uncomfortable. But the only person that really suffers the most is the sitter, because they don't know what's going on. So there's lots of forms of nice energy, but like, I believe now that I will only give my energy to people that I would get it back from. So if I get tested, or I just feel that I get the way the person is, but it's all about greed, it's all about selfishness, getting their own way, overpowering, controlling, like all of them sort of aspects of energy, which I'd class it as energy. So, all the negative sort of stuff, energies, which are on in our everyday life, whether it's a neighbour, or a brother, a sister, cousin, friend, general Joe public, if someone's got some sort of thing against you in any way, then they're going to radiate negative energy to you, and you're going to pick it up, because the minute your brain picks up what's going on, you've already absorbed it. So when you have too much of that, without releasing or blocking the energy from coming in, so in that way I would describe that as just actually being really arrogant and not giving a shit. But that's my way, because that's my boundary to say, don't come near my energy and attack my energy based on what you're really trying to tell me about yourself. Now, some people won't accept what goes on, and they won't go, oh, all this energy lark is a load of rubbish. But the bottom line is if you're radiating that energy, you're going to, in some way, pollute it onto others, if that's your mind state, because people can absorb a lower sort of energy purely because they're worried about them having a point, or them telling the truth of what's gone on. But who actually really cares? The only thing behind that is the nastiness of the person giving that energy at that time. Now, we all have things done to us. We all have different energies come out. Now, I can be the most moodiest arsehole ever. If I'm in a bad mood through someone who's really, had that selfishness and that bitterness and that jealousy and resentment of how someone's going to achieve in their life, but because they can't achieve it, they want to sort of like pollute good people behind them. And I would class that as narcissistic as well. So there's a lot of narcissistic people out there, and they just live off negative energy constantly. Now, if something positive goes on for someone else, they're the world's worst. They're like the devil in disguise, because they bring others down. And it does affect the human body. If you're open to what you're getting, you will feel it physically, and it will be like, I can't be around people anymore. You know what I mean? For a little while, because that's what you actually go through until you find and you know how to block these sort of energies from coming through. Now, if you're in a certain situation and there's a positive thing going on, and you've got someone down the road or someone who's sticking their nose in and going, oh, that ain't going to work, or, oh, that's all right, just do this and just do that. They haven't got a clue. So basically, they're just trying to take over the power of your free will and how you transmute your energy. So if everyone could see energy, you'd be able to look at someone and know whether to avoid them or not. But we can all absorb the bad stuff without even knowing. So it's about having that balance and getting rid of that negative energy, getting rid of the sort of like bad things that come up that aren't healed. Now, that is just either repeat past, or that is trauma through maybe losing someone or having something really nasty happen to you that you wouldn't really want to talk about, because not for one, it's degrading. It's like you don't want to be the victim, but you never really heal from it. So it's about sort of like balancing your chakras from where they will get trapped in your own body. So when the energies can then come up and be released, and that might just take one session or one proper chat. So, you've got to remember, whoever's working with you, you haven't done nothing to them. They've done, all you've done is you've opened up the energies and the spirit to be able to come in and help that person heal themselves. And, you know, when you can read auras, you can say, right, I see a lot of yellow and green around you. But for each different medium and each different psychic or whatever you want to explain it how, they would all see things differently. So they see the colours, but then their resemblance of a colour might be different to how a normal psychic medium or whatever would see a colour. So for instance, you know, if I see a lot of green around someone, I know generally in life that they're actually quite happy. So I class green as their life is actually quite steady and their chakras are quite balanced. But then if I see a lot of red and a lot of yellow together, then I class yellow as healing. Like, I know it sounds a bit funny, but that's just how I see it. So whether the fact that yellow is actually part of the solar plexus, that, you know, I just work it out for how I would see the energy. So I know that that person needs to work on past experiences or pain. They still carry a lot of pain with them based on what they've experienced or what sort of situation they're in at the moment, which spirit can't always give the answer, but they can certainly help you change the way your energies are working. But if you're in an environment, it's a bit like you're plagued. So if you're going back into that environment every time and leaving yourself where you are, then you've got to be strong enough to be able to fight the energies against you or block them out completely. So there's many different ways you can do that, but that's for each individual experience and what, you know, subjects we're talking about. So obviously that would be more as one-on-one therapy with the person and finding out how, you know, what they're actually feeling based on someone else's actions. So really it might be their actions, but they're absorbing the energy of that negative person on that negative thing. And then it's just about learning how to deal with that. So I hope I've explained a little bit on energy, but obviously I will turn this into another video and we'll go through some specific things on how you could recognise someone's energy. And at the end of the day, you know, you can base that off your own system. So, you know, you're sort of like working with your higher self, working with your intuition on what you're faced in reality. And then it really does help. So, you know, I hope I've explained a little bit about the energies, but as I say, we will go deeper onto that into the session on how to avoid picking up someone else's dirt, how to block yourself from absorbing any sort of energies that are unwanted, and you know, all this negative stuff. It's not all negative because it's there to protect. And also you can also give a lot of your natural energy, love, kindness, you know. Look, you don't have to give it to everyone, but only the people that deserve it and need it. Otherwise, they take every single ounce off of you and it will just end up breaking you. So I will go a little bit more into this into the next video. Thank you.